The churches viewed it as a sin to begin with, and then the state viewed it as a crime, and the medical profession viewed it as an illness, basically, and that was the attitude. But I had always been gay right through from my, even pre-puberty, I could recognize gay feelings or sexual attractions to other boys.
I think as a child, I grew up in Belfast in the Troubles. So at a very early age, I knew that there was something different about me. That was late 1960s. At that stage, I didn't know what it was. It was illegal still to be gay in a same-sexual relationship in Northern Ireland. Nobody was even talking about trans issues. So as a young 10-year-old, I didn't really know what was happening.
I knew within myself that I was attracted to girls and not boys. And to figure that out, I went to the library and I would just literally go through the back of all the relevant books, like Simone de Beauvoir, The Second Sex, and I'd be looking for, is lesbian in it? In the index, is deviant in it? Is homosexual in it?
I didn't even think of myself as being in the closet. That's the funny thing about it. It took some time before it really tumbled. And then getting married, dated this girl, got married, started a family, started to build large houses, and all of that sort of thing. That took a lot of your time up, and you were busy in practice and all of that. You didn't have time to be thinking about other things, you know, except when Queer as Folk came along, and that was such a revelation.
I was always very confident in my sexuality in terms of I knew I'd seen some programs on televisions, the Revenge of the Teenage Perverts, which was set in London, but Mark Ashton actually was in it. I didn't know who he was at the time, but there was this guy from Northern Ireland, and just kind of struck me like, oh my goodness, I need to make contact with people. As a teenager, you know, my thoughts were get your exams and get to live your life, because I knew that, you know, in rural Tyrone, as a gay person, you couldn't be open and honest.
You know, there were no reflections of what it was like to be gay back then. Anything that you saw on the telly or you read was very much based towards a heterosexual society. But I remember the priest bellowing out about the sin of homosexuality, and I thought that he was talking directly to me. And of course he wasn't. But when you're brought up with the guilt and the shame imprinted into your DNA, then it's very hard to shake that off. So it was dangerous. And you know, homophobic hate crime didn't exist as a term back then. The crime existed, there just wasn't a name for it. And there was nowhere to go, and you certainly wouldn't have gone towards the to the police.
I was around 16 when I started sort of questioning the church. It wasn't so much around sexuality, because I hadn't a clue then, but about other stuff. But when I went back, I remember going back when I was like 20 or whatever, and I'd come out. But when they started going on about the sheep and the goats and the sheep, and the whole, they would say deviant as well. I've been to mass a few times with the deviant this and deviant. That's when I decided, like, enough's enough.